There's a great variety of wildlife in and around the city year-round, but in the springtime, they become more active, which means you might spot a moose in your backyard.
No, there's 3 of them.
Really? So is this
in most parts of Alberta, we have a substantial amount of wildlife. There's a diverse species and so on. And when we look at Edmonton in particular, and having the river valley coming through Edmonton and all the ravines and so on, those are pathways for animals to be coming in and out of town. So we also have resident animals that live in and amongst people.
Expanding urban boundaries also encroach on wildlife habitat, but developers pre-plan green space corridors for wildlife to pass without becoming trapped. However, Fish and Wildlife officers like Dennis Proden rarely see animals like wolverines or cougars in the city, but indeed have. Much more frequently encountered are deer and moose.
We've had years where we've had to actually immobilize, tranquilize, and remove up to 17 moose in a year. People are likely to encounter a moose sooner or later in Edmonton, whether they're in the river valley or sometimes even up in the residential areas. And if you do see a moose in an inappropriate place like a residential area, certainly call Fish and Wildlife and you completely keep your space. It'd be nice to take pictures, but your health is more important, and you never know when one of these animals is going to decide to defend themselves.
When she first came in, it's kind of glorious because you go, wow, look at this animal's, right in our backyard. But the longer she stayed, the more you became concerned about people happening upon her unexpectedly. Excuse me, don't go that way.
What's that?
You see there's a moose right in front of you.
Oh my God.
When you see wildlife out there, is to give them space. If you end up approaching an animal or cornering it or getting too close, into its personal space, it might feel threatened and might feel that it has to defend itself, and that could be anything from a mouse to a moose.
Come on, buddy.
Pet owners are urged to be aware of resident animals such as coyotes. Fish and Wildlife cautions against use of weapons or aggression toward them.
There are things you can do to avoid issues with wildlife, and a real good example is such as with coyotes. If you remove food sources and don't give coyotes a reason to come into the neighborhood and stay there, then you're going to alleviate the issue. If you go to the Environment and Parks website, they have information on there in regards to problem wildlife, coyotes and deer and stuff like that, and how to avoid issues with them.
For Go, I'm Tim Dancy.